States sailor. I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, and I will obey the orders of those appointed over me. I represent the fighting spirit of the Navy and those who have gone before me to defend freedom and democracy around the world. I proudly serve my country's Navy combat team with honor, courage, and commitment. I am committed to excellence and the fair treatment of all. Hoo-yah! Hoo-yah!
What hath God wrought? These were the first words transmitted using Samuel F.B. Morse's electromagnetic telegraph machine between Washington, D.C. and Baltimore on May 23, 1844. During the American Civil War, both sides began encrypting high-level messages to be transmitted on the telegraph. For the first time, it became possible to collect such messages from the enemy in volume and in near real time. Both sides established cipher bureaus in their respective capitals to work on enemy encrypted messages, one of the early examples of a centralized intelligence activity in the United States.
In June 1918, about 1 year after America entered World War I, Agnes Meyer Driscoll enlisted in the United States Navy and was assigned to the Code and Signal Section of the Director of Naval Communications. She remained a leading cryptanalyst for the United States Navy until 1949, when she began working for the Armed Forces Security Agency, followed by the National Security Agency in 1952. Her work as a Navy cryptanalyst who broke a multitude of Japanese naval systems, as well as the developer of early machine systems, marks her as one of the true originals in American cryptology.
The On the Roof Gang was a group of United States naval cryptologists and radio men during World War II who are seen as the beginning of U.S. Navy cryptology and cryptanalysis. The On the Roof Gang consisted of 150 sailors and 26 Marines who worked on the roof of the Navy Department building in Washington, D.C. from 1928 to 1941. The On the Roof Gang was a school for radiomen and cryptologists who would go on to deploy on ships and at overseas bases, monitoring foreign communications, movements, operations, and message intercepts of foreign navies.
The Battle of Midway is frequently referred to as the turning point in the Pacific. After a series of losses, the United States won a decisive victory over the Japanese Imperial Fleet. The Japanese had hoped to surprise the American military on Midway Island and claim this crucial location. However, American Navy cryptologists stationed in Hawaii had made some breaks into the Japanese Navy fleet code, known to cryptanalysts as JN TAC 25B. Commander Rockford, the officer in charge of the cryptanalysts, came to believe that the Japanese were planning to attack a target code named AF. Rockford believed AF referred to Midway. With the approval of Rear Admiral Nimitz, instructions were given to the Marines on Midway to send a plain text message complaining about the lack of fresh water. 2 days later, 12 May 1942, a JN TAC 25 message was decoded stating AF is short of water. Knowing Midway would be attacked, the U.S. Navy and Marines were able to adjust their forces and combat the attack head-on. Although the battle raged for portions of 3 days, and significant numbers of U.S. and Japanese lives were lost, the Americans defeated the Japanese fleet. The U.S. lost 307 men, 1 carrier, the Yorktown, 1 destroyer, and 147 aircraft. The Japanese lost 2,500 men, 4 carriers, 1 heavy cruiser, and 332 aircraft.
Captain Lawrence F. Safford was a U.S. Navy cryptologist known as the father of Navy cryptology. He established the Naval Cryptologic Organization after World War I and headed efforts consistently until shortly after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. He called upon Captain Joseph Rockefort to head efforts in breaking the JN-25 Japanese Naval Operational Code. In the spring of 1942, Rockefeller's team, though unable to break JN-25, was able to trick the Japanese Navy into sending a message which revealed that it was Midway that was the focus of the attack.
As a newly commissioned ensign, Donald Showers reported to Pearl Harbor in February 1942 and was assigned to the combat intelligence unit known as Station Hypo under Captain Joseph Rochefort. He performed research and other support functions in exploiting the main Japanese naval code. He developed innovative methods for SIGINT shadowing of Japanese fleet movements and for distributing sanitized SIGINT for targeting. Station Hypo, also known as the Fleet Radio Unit Pacific, was the United States Navy Signals Monitoring and Cryptographic Intelligence Unit in Hawaii during World War II. It was one of the two major Allied signal intelligence units, called Fleet Radio Units in Pacific theaters, along with the Farmal in Melbourne, Australia. The precise importance and role of the Station Hypo has been the subject of considerable controversy, reflecting internal tensions amongst U.S. Navy cryptographic stations. Station Hypo was under the control of the Oscar Papa TAC 20 TAC Gulf Naval Intelligence Section in Washington.
Possibly the most well-known of all cipher machines is the German Enigma. It became the workhorse of the German military services and was used to encrypt tens of thousands of tactical messages throughout World War II. The Germans believed the Enigma to be unbreakable. They were wrong. By the time the United States entered the war, U-boat Enigmas had become more complicated by the addition of a fourth rotor. Beginning in the fall of 1943 and for the rest of the war, the responsibility of solving the U-boat messages fell to the U.S. Navy. Breaking the four-rotor messages led directly to the Allies' victory in the Battle of the Atlantic.
The U.S. Navy's cryptanalytic bombe was the accumulation of years of work and efforts of mathematicians and engineers from Poland, England, and the United States. It was the solution to the problem of the German Enigma machine. The U.S. Navy asked engineers at the National Cash Register Company to redesign the bombe to work against the four-rotor U-boat Enigmas. Within a year, National Cash Register civilians, Navy sailors, and women in the Navy, known as WAVES, women accepted for volunteer emergency service, began building and shipping the new bombs to Washington, D.C. between September 1943 and March 1945. 121 bombs were installed at the Navy's Communication Annex in Washington, D.C. The WAVES operated the bombs, working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They set the machines up and tested the results. The U.S. Navy bombs rapidly searched the hundreds of thousands of possible settings on one wheel order of a four-rotor Enigma. The machine was so well designed that each run only took 20 minutes, significantly faster than the British bombs. The U.S. Navy cryptanalytic bombs were so efficient that the British turned the entire U-boat problem over to the United States. The Navy bombs and those who built and operated them played a crucial role in saving both Allied and Axis lives and hastened the end of the war in the Atlantic and Europe.
Navajo code talkers took part in every assault the U.S. Marines conducted in the Pacific from 1942 to 1945. The original 29 recruits began training in May 1942. Over the course of the war, approximately 400 Navajos and one Caucasian became part of this very successful code talking program. They served in all 6 Marine divisions, Marine Raider battalions, and Marine parachute units, transmitting messages by telephone and radio in their native language, a code that the Japanese never broke.
During World War II, U.S. Navy WAVES had many ratings, including Specialist Q. They worked as communications specialists, cryptologists, cryptanalysts, radio intelligence technicians, and registered publications clerks.
Your real work in the Navy begins today. Remember that the men you release for combat duty at sea are relying on your reliability, accuracy, resourcefulness, and zeal on shore. The Navy and the nation count on you.
Code, their first lesson. They'll learn things they'll be able to use later in civilian life. Soon these girls will be communicating with the whole world, from Washington to the South Pacific and the Mediterranean, encircling the globe, contacting warships in far-off combat zones.
Intercepts obtained from Operation Ultra regarding Adolf Hitler's Atlantic Wall defenses in France helped Allied forces plan the D-Day invasion on June 6, 1944. Juan Porto Garcia became one of the Allies' most successful double agents and played an important role in the success of D-Day. His greatest contribution came when he convinced the Germans that the invasion of Normandy was only a diversionary tactic. He insisted that an army led by American Lieutenant General George S. Patton Jr. stood ready to attack at Pas-de-Calais, France. In order to maintain his credibility, Garcia also provided the Germans with small amounts of true information that they would have learned or intercepted on their own anyway.
So many things ahead that we have to do, where we need tremendous amounts of information, correlated, easy to access. We're only at the beginning.
I think we all too often forget that the greatest natural resource we have is our young people. They're our future.
The Navy honored Admiral Hopper by naming an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer USS Hopper.
On June 8, 1967, USS Liberty, America's most sophisticated intelligence ship at the time, was attacked by Israeli air and naval forces in international waters. The USS Pueblo is an American electronic intelligence and signals intelligence ship that was boarded and captured by North Korean forces on January 23, 1968. North Korea stated the Pueblo strayed into their territorial waters, but the United States maintains the vessel was in international waters at the time of the incident. The Pueblo is still held in Pyongyang, North Korea, being used as a museum ship.
On April 15, 1969, 2 North Korean MiGs shot down a Navy EC-121 in an unprovoked attack. 31 American lives were lost.
Throughout the Vietnam War, all military services cryptologic elements took part in providing tactical and strategic information to military commanders. Information derived from signals and electronic intelligence flowed quickly back to the commanders in the field. The National Service Agency also sent civilians to Vietnam to assist with the effort. They worked side by side with their military counterparts in the South Vietnamese. Those stationed at NSA in the United States worked around the clock processing, translating, and forwarding this vital intelligence.
April 1st, 2001 began like any other. EQ-1 was scheduled to complete a routine reconnaissance mission. Without incident, its flight crew departed Kadena Air Base, Japan, and commenced operations over international waters in the East China Sea. Even the interception of their flight track by the Chinese wasn't unusual. But this time, the Chinese pilot, a known maverick, flew too close to the plane. While trying to maintain the EP-3's much slower speed, the jet's engine stalled, causing the aircraft to drift into the EP-3's number 1 prop engine. The jet put on its afterburners to escape the now damaged prop and sideswiped the EP-3, knocking off the EP-3's nose cone, which then disabled the number 3 prop engine. The Chinese jet went down, and the EP-3 followed soon after.
I think we all too often forget that the greatest natural resource we have is our young people. They're our future.